Have you guys heard the story of the sand and the stone? Two desert travelers hear a voice from above. Fill your pockets with sand and stone. These desert travelers don't think much of this, but although before packing in for the evening, they put a little sand and a little stone in their pockets. When the sun rises, they wake up to find all the sand and stone in their pockets has turned to gold, and they are thrilled, though they are also disappointed that they did not put any more sand and stones in their pockets. It is what it is. In 2010, I was 23 years old, very healthy, very young, single, joined New York Life, got my insurance career started there. And New York Life was very quick to tell me that you cannot sell what you do not own, essentially saying I must buy some life insurance from them, which I did, though I did not want to, I did not need to, and I did not have the money to buy much of it. It is what it is. Now I'm 31 years old. Terry, how do I do the slides?
Morgan does it.
Now I'm 31 years old and I'm totally uninsurable. I'm going to be okay. I have a brain tumor. I'm having surgery next week. I will not be here. I'm going to be okay. It is what it is. Story starts in 2013. You go to the next slide. I was skiing here in the mountain, Mount Snow. Some of you knew me back then. I had a ski accident and had a traumatic brain injury, a TBI. Morgan, you can do the next slide and do it quickly. Thank you. Changed my life, right? I was in the hospital for several months, out of work. My career developed. I left New York Life, became a broker, just a broker of most companies, and expanded my career to include the property and casualty licensing, refocused my business on business owners, and became more aware of all the love I have in my life, and ended up marrying Riley. Do the next slide. Last year we are in Hawaii for New Year's vacation, and it happens to be raining. I cannot play golf, nor can we go to the beach. And I do not want to go shopping at the mall. So I go to the gym. And the gym has a very old and outdated Smith machine with a low back bar on which I hit my head and fall to the ground. I come back to the room with ice on my head, and Riley, being the loving wife that she is and knowing my medical history, is nervous that I may have a concussion, which will not be good for my TBI. So we go to the hospital. I let her drive me to the hospital, as the day before she decided, with my encouragement, to drive for the first time, learning how to drive just in case one day there was ever an emergency where she would have to drive. So I thought that now it would be raining and she'd have to drive. I was very proud and excited to have her take me to the hospital, and we had nothing better to do regardless. So she takes me there, and I do not have a concussion, though the doctor says that I have a cyst, and we freak out. So then for the next year or so, I think you can do the next slide. Okay. For the next year or so, we are tracking, year to date, we're tracking the tumor, and it has now come to a point where it must come out. Very lucky that we found the tumor. They say it's been there my whole life, and that it typically develops between ages 25 and 40, and I'm not showing any symptoms, and I would not have found the tumor ever had my wife not insisted we go to the hospital that day, had she known my medical history, had I had that TBI, that ski accident in 2013. It is what it is. While we've been tracking the tumor growth year to date, I've also been tracking my business growth year to date. And I started working with some gentlemen at NJLC, Mike and Larry, who some of you have had the pleasure of meeting. They are focused and siloed in the high net worth marketplace with closely held and family-owned businesses, and which meshes perfectly with my childhood growing up here in Manhattan and the way my business has developed over the past year, or several years since my accident, with a focus on business owners. It's all coming together very nicely. It is what it is. You can go to the next slide. So a case study that we're working on is a friend of mine's parents own some real estate, and they're not ready to start giving things away and making their estate smaller, though they are ready to cap their estate so that it doesn't become a bigger tax burden. So we have suggested with them and their accountant a strategy to put one piece of real estate into a court trust, which will remain in trust for 15 years, at which point the real estate will be passed down to their children, a friend of mine, and then the parents can pay rent to their children, which is taxed at a much more effective and efficient rate than the estate tax would be or any exceeding gift tax. So life insurance plays in there very nicely as a tool to mitigate estate tax should the parents predecease the maturity of that trust. So a good referrals for me are your accountant, especially your business accountants. That's where the majority of our business comes from, because the accountants know the clients and understand the tax burdens that they have now and the coming tax burdens they'll have in the future. And we help strategize ways to chip away at that tax burden, always using life insurance as a vehicle for estate tax. Also, your trust and estates attorneys are great referrals for me. I'm planting seeds with accountants and attorneys now that I will be growing with for the rest of my career as referral sources to help my clients when my clients are in need of trusts like this client of mine now I need an attorney for, and also where we can provide value to them and their clients as just different ways to think about things that their clients are going through and opportunities that they may have. So I'm going to be okay. But you never know what's going on inside of you. And it's never too soon to put a little sand and a little stone in your pockets. It is what it is. So I think I have a little time left, and I'm sure that there will be questions, so I left some time. 2 minutes?
You guys saw 2 minutes right on that mark.
Okay, so does anyone have any questions? No questions, wow. Yeah.
Is there a certain size policy that you do a minimum at? Is there, like, is it too small? Like, is it like if somebody that's in the room that can just come and get a life insurance policy?
No. I mean, most carriers have minimums of $25,000 for a whole life or permanent insurance and $100,000 for term insurance. And I believe depending on carrier, at that price level, your health is going to be non-smoker, unless you're worse, but you can't really be better than that. And then as your premium dollars go up, there's different health classes you can be in. And for some smokers, there are companies that will offer non-smoker rates for 3 years. For outside of New York, there's some companies that will give you Apple Watches to track your health and give you discounts on premium. So no, there's no minimum. I mean, there is a minimum, but the minimum is so small that it's not going to be an issue. Yes?
This might be a silly question, but say if you're 40 or above, which one's better, term or whole?
It's going to depend on the individual, based on what their needs are. Yeah, but depends. So it depends on their family, their business. Is it going to be for the business, or is it going to be for their family? How long do they want it to last for? How old are their children? How big is their estate? So there's a lot of variables in there to really help determine the right type of policy and the right way to structure the policy, which is something that I've been learning a lot with Mike and Larry this year. So I can't really answer that question on a blanket level. No. Yeah.
Could you speak briefly about the benefits of having the ability to borrow against your life insurance policy?
So some permanent types of insurance have cash value that you can borrow against, and some of the benefits there would be that you can borrow against it tax-free, which is a benefit, and you can get it instantly. You don't need to go through any sort of approval process, and you can use it for anything. So if you're going to be comparing it with 401k, for example, there's a lot of restrictions on what you can use it for if you want to take out early, and there are also no time limits on when you can start withdrawing. I have a client who uses their cash value to buy stones overseas, which the bank would never give him a loan for. He's a rubies dealer. And I have another client whose father helped send him to school on their cash value life insurance. Yes?
What else can we do to help you as you prepare for your surgery next week?
Well, you can think about the attorneys and the accountants that you know and use. And also any clients. Clients are always good as well. And think about yourselves. If you have life insurance that hasn't been reviewed in a little while, we'd be happy to review it. Though hold off on referrals until at least the 8th, as I will be recovering and not focusing on my business. All right.